Damn. So New Gen podcast is getting sued, chat. I just saw this shit today. New Gen podcast is getting sued for 1 million rands. Nasty. For what, I don't know what they did, but what I'm thinking is it's because they brought on some girls who were talking shit about Naqueeda. So Naqueeda, who is Naqueeda? Naqueeda is process girl and all that. So this shit is crazy. I'm getting sued for 1 million.
The New Gen podcast is getting sued for 1 million rand. Yes, you heard that right. I have it within good authorities that social media influencer Naqueeda has sent lawyer papers or served papers on the podcast stating that the podcast has defamed her and her character. Now, for context, a couple of weeks back, Naqueeda's lawyers had sent the podcast a cease and desist after the gents on the podcast were saying a couple of, let's just say, defamatory statements. So here are the defamatory clips in question.
You saying it's club appearances. I used to host. In a month hosting cool rates, I can say maybe you make like 30 bands. If you're a good host, she doesn't work Joba clubs. Joba clubs pay the most. You're going to be telling me she made money from drama. From drama. Victoria.
Damn.
Like, how are we your sons, though? Just because you got a non-existent BBL, now you think you're Nicki Minaj. You just, dude,
You
this
setting
has
the
never
standard.
worked hard a day in her life.
What is this?
All she knows how to do is lay on her back.
You're known for what? Today you're Little Mermaid. Tomorrow you running the streets. I don't know.
The next day you're sleeping with four niggas in 1 week. Is that
Crazy.
what else?
But for your hand to be claiming that I slept with you, and by you sleeping with me, I'm gonna make you sick. And she's talking about all this HIV out there. Do you know how messed up that is to say about someone?
Now, even after these statements, the podcast then continued to make these very defamatory statements about Naqueeda, and we now find ourselves in this position where the gents are about to be sued for 1 million rand. This story will be out on Daily Sun tomorrow, but I just felt I'd take Bullet Jones' approach to matters. Now, this story comes in a very contentious time for podcasts across the country. Podcasts have been appearing in front of Parliament as a result of the white paper that's about to be released by the Department of Communications, which to a certain extent might just regulate podcasts. And there's a lot of contentious issues about it. And one of the most contentious issues about it is the fact that there are podcasts in this country who are using their platforms to not educate, to not entertain, but to informally be, all intents and purposes defamatory. And I'm going to keep my hand on this matter, and I will give you the latest on it. So, slay though. The New Gen podcast is
Crazy. So they're getting sued 1 million. Getting sued 1 million for, okay, I understand Naqueeda is trying to get to the bag, okay. But dog, I think she has said these things on the Open Chats podcast, if I'm not wrong. I might be wrong. But I think she has said these things, Naqueeda, on the Open Chats podcast, that she has slept with a lot of men. She has said that, she has what done a BBL and all that. So it's not like maybe they lying. Maybe they are lying, because I don't know shit. But it's crazy to think that this so-called influencer is suing other influencers for 1 million. It's just crazy. Listen, my question is, nizoinya pile million.
Podcast is getting sued for 1 million rand by Naqueeda. My question is to you guys now. Nizoinya pilo mali. Nizoinya pilo 6 zeros of winning. Nizoita like you winning 1 million. The fuck? Hey, 1 million winning. Yeah, like if she actually wins this, yes, we're not gonna hear the end of it, bro. We are not, and rightfully so, My thing is, are you suing the honeys that were talking on the podcast, or are you suing the whole podcast in general?
So I was thinking, it wasn't okay. New Gen podcast, they gave those girls a platform to talk shit about Naqueeda. But it wasn't the New Gen who said shit about Naqueeda.
So now
I
I
wanna
want to
know.
know, Big Boss, why there is 2 whole podcasts talking about Naqueeda. I want to know, where do you guys enter in someone's business? I also want to know, why is there nothing better to talk about? And I also want to know, Big Boss.
You know why? Because these podcasts are shared, chat. That's why. That's why they're always talking about it, about Naqueeda.
Why you're so focused on someone else's life when you guys have a whole podcast, that you could be using for better things, but you choose to go and enter someone else's business. But you chose. So now I want to know.
It's because these podcasts are shared, dog. I'm telling you. They ass. They ass, dog. That's why.
Will the New Gen podcast win their case against Naqueeda? Ever since I dropped the story about the New Gen podcast getting sued, there's been a lot of people chiming in on the story. You know, some people believe that Naqueeda is right to sue the Brvce, and others believe that this case won't go anyway. And that's due to the disclaimer at the start of their podcast. Many of South Africa's biggest podcasts carry disclaimers to distance themselves from the views of their guests and consequences of them saying those said comments. In the comment section, many people believe that due to this disclaimer, the New Gen podcast will win the case and will continue doing New Gen stuff, like talking about women and that. But I'm here to break it to you that that will probably not be the case. And that's because of a case that was just decided today. Now, at the Gauteng South High Court, a ruling was made which basically states that using the word allegedly won't stop you from being sued if you say something defamatory. In the case, in 2021, independent media, which owns various newspaper titles in South Africa, published a series of damaging articles that peddled